welcome to this episode of The Good, The Bad and the Odd. We're your host, Michael Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello there.
So this is another Hammer, our 43rd Hammer we've covered. And it's a little different from what we used to. It is Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. And we are getting near the tail end of Hammer. We've only got a couple more movies left. And they were kind of desperate to try and rake back money because they've been on a few losers. And they were just trying different things. And Captain Kronos arose from that. What was your general feeling about this film?
I quite enjoyed it, mainly because it reminded me of Van Helsing.
Yeah, Van Helsing does feel like a remake of this somewhat.
Movie.
Yeah. And Kate Beckinsale was an awesome Carla, if you like, as well, right? I mean, they had a lot of vibes in a similar thing, didn't they, really? So this was written and directed by Brian Clemens, most famous for being the creative force behind the Avengers, the John Steed and Emma Peel and that kind of stuff. Very sort of campy, fun, British 60s sort of adventure comedy drama show. Very famous show. It was also behind creative force behind a few other things, such as a TV series with Terry Nation called Survivors, which was kind of famous on the BBC. It was also a creative force behind a couple of thrillers that I really liked. There's one called And Soon the Darkness. He was kind of involved in that. But just before we start recording, you mentioned he's involved in something that made us both gag a bit. Do you want to tell us what that was?
Yeah, so I just clicked onto Brian Clemens' Wikipedia page, scrolled down to select filmography. Second to last item there, Highlander 2: The Quickening.
I'm not surprised.
He wrote it.
He didn't write much before it, though, did he? It was like 10 years he hadn't written anything, or got anything made, I should say.
It was like The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, another movie called Watcher in the Woods in 1980.
Yeah, that's a decent movie.
And then Highlander 2.
Yeah, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which we
Highlander 2
liked.
had two writers, so maybe the other guy is to blame.
Yeah, let's blame the other guy. I mean, he does write good, punchy scripts. So Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter.
The producer known as the production company behind the Highlander. Okay, so this guy did all the Highlander films.
Okay. So Captain Kronos, Hammer were just trying something different, really. We had directed by Brian Clemens. So that's unusual. Music by Laurie Johnson, who is, again, did the music to the Avengers. Does a lot of TV music. And, I quite like the music for this.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have worked. I'll tell you what, there was another film it reminded me of.
Music,
Yeah. It really reminded me of Hulk the Slayer in places as well, which was made after this. The lead was interesting. A German actor called Horst Janssen, who was dubbed. And the problems you get with dubbing is say again.
Dubbed over by Julian Holloway. The trouble with, I don't think he was shown the film to do that. It feels some of his readings are quite flat, aren't they? There is that problem. However, like you say, I'm fairly confident he was not watching the movie as dubbing.
Yeah, it didn't feel. It felt kind of flat. Now, Horst Janssen has also done, or did before this and after this, spaghetti westerns, that kind of thing. He's got the look. He's got that look, right? He's kind of a dashing, actory, leading man type, right? And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure he could handle a sword. His sword fighting was pretty good in this.
Yeah.
And his horse riding. So maybe that's why he got the gig, right? He was just physically good.
Probably physically the best actor for the job.
And I have to say, I've always wanted to see a remake of this. Before he got a little too old, I think, for this sort of thing, Viggo Mortensen would have been an awesome Captain Kronos, in my opinion. Shane Bryant is another actor I think we've already seen in other stuff, maybe, who was in it. He's the one who looks like Roger Taylor from Queen, that guy. And, of course, we have Caroline Munro, who was in Dracula AD 1972, wasn't she? And Caroline Munro was pretty damn good. Yeah. So. She's in loads. But she was really good in this as Carla, I thought. I thought she was a good Carla. It was shot in 72 and not released until 74. And the idea was, if this was a success, it was going to be a series, right? And some of the chat around it, Brian Clemens said he was a time traveller too, so he'd turn up in different eras and help out people with vampires. And of course, they set up a massive mythology of there's not just one type of vampire, don't they?
Yeah,
quite well.
They talk over basically to sort of shake up the vampire story, like mythology. Is they say, okay, you probably only know of the one type of vampire that's local around here, the sort that can't go out in the sun and is affected by getting staked through the heart. Not true.
Not true.
So
they say there are as many types of vampires as there are beasts in the forest, is how they describe it.
It's
and
basically
also
their excuse to have several sleuthing scenes.
Yeah,
where they try and figure out what type of vampire it is.
What type of vampire is it and how to kill it? That's their main focus. Yeah. What type of vampire is it? How do we kill it? And who is it? Those are the three kind of
Yes.
Now, Kronos turns up at a place. Well, before he turns up at a place, he comes across Carla in the stocks, doesn't he?
He just kind of lets her out straight away.
He lets her out straight away. He says, "Why are you in the stocks?" She goes, "I was dancing on a Sunday," or something like that, right? He lets her out. She's got nowhere to go, so Gross lets her jump on the back of the van.
Gross, this is manservant / assistant.
Well, he's an expert, right? He's like Q.
Yeah, he's the expert on the actual vampire mythos. Kronos is the one that does the killing.
The action. So. Yeah, he's kind of a cross between Alfred and Q, because he's also got a bit of tech. Well, not so much tech, more different implements and ideas and ways of identifying where vampires are and who, all that sort of stuff. Hieronymus Grost is his name, and he's a hunchback.
Yeah.
I think he was played by John Cater, I think. Yeah, John Cater. Good, solid character actor in British movies and TV. Did a really good job here as Grost, I'd say. What do you think?
Yeah, he's really good in this movie. Like he puts across. It's a bit Igor because he's clearly got a pillow down his back because he's supposed to be a hunchback.
Yeah.
But he's clearly knows how, and he's taking the bad film seriously.
And it's good, and it works well because I think because of the dubbing and that, Kronos comes a little bit bland. Would you say?
He just kind of seems aloof. Like
yeah.
Mainly because he says that and his mouth moves and the words don't really match what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, I think he was talking in English.
Well, the words match, but the tone of voice doesn't.
Yeah. Essentially, what's happening is in a certain district is young girls are being drained of life force, so they become old hags and die overnight with blood on their lips. That's what's going on. And they get called in by an old war buddy, a war surgeon, right? He was a doctor now, but he was a war surgeon who knows Captain Kronos. He's an old war buddy.
Yeah.
And it's not even hinted, it's kind of almost said outright that he had to work on Kronos. He says at one, because Kronos got massive
has
scars.
This giant scar around from his belly button round to the side. We don't see how far it goes on his back. But there's like several offhand references. It's like, I know you got guts, Kronos. Well, I should know. But, and like that sort of thing.
I've seen him, that sort of thing. He also has a vampire mark on his neck, which is healed up, which is kind of interesting. And we do find out through the process of the film that when he returned home from the war, his mother and sister greeted him as vampires and bit him, and he had to kill them and then cure himself. They don't explain how, but he cured himself. So there is that.
Just imagine it was the same as in Brides of Dracula. Where he like chained himself up and like stabbed himself with a burning iron.
Probably went full Van Helsing. This is basically it's kind of an action adventure Van Helsing, like the film Van Helsing, right? So Carla goes with them. There's her and Kronos get it together, but there's a few innuendo. There's a line. Will you have me? Oh yes, I'll have you. He says, and all that kind of stuff. Which is fun, right? Which is fun.
They never stop flirting when they're on screen together.
And there's an ongoing sort of meme almost in this film that whenever she's leaning against Kronos and sleeping, he's just sitting there meditating. As soon as anyone calls him, he kind of just disappears, and she kind of hits the floor.
He like disappears.
It's so fast,
and she just drops to the floor. It's like, what?
He's so fast that you don't see him move, sort of thing. They do conclude that they that is a vampire of some sort, and someone actually says there was something out there very old thing. There's a dodgy family called the Durwoods around, who they got a statue in the cemetery.
But he doesn't really begin to describe it. So.
Yeah, they're an odd family. There is a statue in the graveyard of the patriarch of the family who died 7 years previously, which looked. You reckon it might have been the actor just painted because it looks like
it looked like someone just painted.
But I think it was the statue because he's just stayed too still, and they kept using the same shot, and it didn't change. So I don't think it might be though. You never know. Lady Durwood has kind of got old and bedridden since the death of her husband, and not seeing anyone. But whenever you see her, she looks like she's got a mask on, doesn't she? And she has actually.
She looks like she's got like plasticine pushed over her face.
Yeah.
Instead of.
Yeah, and her son accompanies her, who is Shane Bryant, who talks for her, and she apparently hasn't forgiven the doctor, even though he did everything he could, but it was too late. So she doesn't want to talk to the doctor. But the son's fairly amicable and talks to him. We also find out he's got a sister,
but he
Sarah.
still like blocks his way to their mother.
She doesn't want to talk to you.
This is not worth it.
Yeah. So that he does go and visit Kronos and Grost are pissing about in the woods, aren't they? They're attaching bells to strings.
Yeah, basically
they're
doing their trick with the frogs and the bells and the strings, but they find some carriage tracks that stop.
Yeah,
like either ends, and so
it's because it's hard ground. So, yeah.
Grost and Kronos go one way, and the surgeon goes the other. He finds the house. So
we should mention Kronos' livery, shouldn't we? You know, he's got a monogrammed
he's wearing
saddle
a military
and
jacket,
stuff.
So.
Yeah, he's a captain in the army. He's got a monogrammed like saddle with a K for Kronos logo. He's also got katana.
Yes.
Yes, he's got a katana and a sword, but a saber. Not a saber, epee, isn't it? Where it's kind of straight. And a katana. And he's really fast. That's the gist of it. And there's a lot of spaghetti western feel in this, isn't there? There's barroom face-offs and fights that feel like they come from the spaghetti western kind of school of filmmaking, don't it? So there's some influence in that, which is very cool. Marcus, in the meantime, follows the tracks and it goes to the Durwood house. And he talks to Paul, the son, and also his sister Sarah, who he notes looks remarkably young, right? So they're trying to... It's obviously a red herring to make us think she might be the vampire.
Yeah, but she goes on about it like she is the vampire.
She's
I will
obsessed.
never be young by magic or otherwise.
Yeah, she doesn't want to get old. She doesn't want to get like her mother. That's the thing. Who's like decrepit. And as he's riding back, something weird happens in the wood. The cloaked figure kind of appears that we see earlier in the film, which we haven't mentioned yet, but there is a cloaked figure. And time seems to freeze briefly, and then he goes on, and he kind of stumbles out of the woods. And he finds blood on his lips, which is how the vampire attacked these women. And they go, there's about 3 or 4 attacks on women in there where they just get decrepit, old, and die.
Sometimes it's literally just walking out of shot for a moment and walking back in, and it's like they go, oh.
Yeah. Kronos. We also see the manservant of the Durwoods talking to this gang of toughs, let's put it that way, led by Ian Hendry as Kero and 2 other blokes, and they're just acting tough in a bar, like you do.
Yeah, they're just just being vile.
And there's stuff lifted straight out. There's like, you're not laughing, friend. Why don't you? Pulls his sword on him, makes the bloke laugh, right? Also mistreats a prostitute by not paying her enough, and then throwing the rest of her money into a spittoon. And there's a bit of that, right? And then Kronos and Grost comes in, and they start making rude comments about Grost. Do you sleep in a hammock? or do you sleep on your front? All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then Kronos turns around and says, I think you're being rude. It's all that. It's basically straight out Fistful of Dollars. You're laughing at my mule. It's kind of a version of that, isn't it? And it is funny, with every line of insult Kronos throws out, and these are really terrible insults, and when I say terrible, just stupid insults. He goes, I wouldn't like it if I called you rat face, fatty, and big mouth. And fatty, for example, isn't fat. Yeah. It's just weird. But with every line, the barman and the bar girl, their heads get lower under to the bar until they're not even inside of it. It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's kind of almost played for comedy. And then Kero sort of threatens him, but Kronos just kills them and puts his sword away before they can do anything. He's that fast. All we see is the sword come out, we hear a slashing noise, sword go back, Kronos is standing there, they're standing there, and they just fall over dead. Except Kero, who wanders around, milks it a bit, doesn't he? He milks it a bit, kind of wanders around and falls on the floor.
He walks and he picks up like the marker, like of the family.
Yeah.
And then drops to the floor, and then they all go pick up the thing. It's like, oh, so he was definitely working for them.
Yeah. So. And old Kronos is like, sorry about the mess. You know, it's all that. It's straight. I mean, you see it in Star Wars as well, things like that, right? That's what Han Solo is.
Yeah.
Then they set up a load of traps, and a girl is walking through the woods, and she gets attacked. She has a big bat on her face at one point, doesn't she?
Yeah, just kind of like it's a big rubber bat, and it's
on
not
her
great.
face. No. And she ages, and they think one of the vampires is attacked. But then isn't Marcus shaving, and suddenly he realises he looks really young. He looks a lot younger. Yes. And then he notices he's got the teeth, and he calls Kronos, and he says, kill me, please. You know, it's all this. And then we get a prolonged, not quite a montage, but various scenes of them figuring out how to kill this vampire. Their friend as well.
You could almost put like the sort of going about town music, or as they like drive stakes into him.
Yeah, they drive a stake into his heart.
No, that didn't kill him. Dead. Okay, let's hang him.
The cross doesn't seem to bother him. He's wearing a cross and it doesn't bother him. They try hanging him, that doesn't bother him. But then by accident, he nearly tips over. They try fire and the chair tips, but it's not the fire that kills him. Kronos accidentally, or was it Gross? I can't. One of them accidentally pushes the cross into his chest.
He the guy lunges forward, and Kronos catches him, and that drives the cross into his neck.
Okay,
it's their chest, and that kills him.
Yeah, so, and then they realise the cross is made of steel, so it's steel is the thing that kills. Yeah, steel. What do you think it was silver?
I think it was iron.
No, steel. It's definitely steel. And then they go to the graveyard to basically steal a big steel cross. Yeah. Oh, I should have mentioned there's one scene where someone's, is it the vicar, is in a church and you see a shadow of a cross on the wall, and then it slowly lower, the arms of the cross lower. It's actually a shadow of the vampire, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. Kind of like that. What?
It's just this weird that it is steel, because I feel like all his weapons were already steel.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course they are.
Why did he need to make a new weapon to do it? Like, if it was iron,
cinema,
that would
man.
make sense.
It's cinema.
It's like, it's specifically iron. They go for your steel weapons won't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make a new one. But no, they just go and make it. They do some grave robbing to steal.
Well, they steal it from the cemetery. They don't rob graves. It's a grave marker, isn't it?
It's literally a grave that they are.
It's still not good. The villagers, meanwhile, are pissed off their doctor has died, and they blame Kronos. So they
go try fight him, and Kronos just knocks them the fuck out.
Yeah, he just takes them all out. I know it's kind of a cool scene because he's fighting with them all. And as he's fighting them, and he's making their swords fly in the air, by whipping them up, and you've seen the swords landing, pointing into the ground. So as the fight goes on, there's more and more swords just landing in the ground, sticking out of the ground. It's kind of cool. And one thing they don't mention in the film, but I've read a comic book adaptation of this, quite a good one, in the House of Hammer, which used to do comic book adaptations of things like Quatermass and other Hammer films. Their version of Kronos is pretty cool. And that, the villagers all say, he wounded us all in the same place, in the same spot on the arm. And he doesn't like maim them or kill them. He does wound them in the arm, all of them. So they can't fight, but he doesn't hurt them much more than that, right? Meanwhile, we then see Grost starting to forge the sword, which is kind of cool, while Kronos is meditating and smoking special herbs. Yeah, so there's some of that. And do they see another attack? And they see the carriage riding away, so they kind of know the Durwoods are the vampires, and they suspect, because of what Marcus said, that it was probably Sarah. So Carla is still with them. There's some kind of comedy stuff with Carla, isn't there? Right at the beginning, where do I sleep? He goes, well, there's only 2 blankets, Kronos or me, so take your pick, you know.
Yeah, and then as a nice touch, he immediately pulls his blanket completely over himself
and says, "Good night." Yeah, there's some of that. Anyway, they come up with a plan, and the plan is to use Carla as bait as they kind of sneak in through an upper story floor, right? So Carla kind of stumbles in saying she needs refuge. The brother, obviously, it's Caroline Munro, is perfectly happy to accommodate that. And they set her up on the sofa and downstairs. And then Kronos and Gross, or Kronos leads, but Gross is following him, breaks into the Lady Durwood's bedroom. Actually, I thought it was Sarah, but they break into the old lady's bedroom and find a mask on the bed, right? So obviously there's something going on. And she indeed reveals herself, and it's Wanda Ventham, who's Benedict Cumberbatch's mum, right?
Yeah.
As Lady Durwood, is actually the vampire, not the kids, even though they've got the blood. The kids do say at one point something about not aging so much on their mother's side, or something like that.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that she's a Karstein, not a Karnstein. Karstein.
Now, apparently, Brian Clemens went to see, I don't know, Twins of Evil or Lust for a Vampire, one of them, and he just liked the idea of just tying it in, but he misheard the name. He thought it was Karstein. So this is kind of an unofficial fourth to the Carmilla trilogy of Hammers, kinda, but not. It's very loose, yeah. But she is a Karstein, so she's a vampire. And we find out she put the bite on her husband, and it's taken her years to get him back out of the grave. Yeah.
She's basically been like siphoning off the
energy
trading she's been doing.
Yeah, and it's not completely well, because he's still got massive signs of the plague on his face, because he died of the plague. There's also, earlier in the film, there's talk that he's a master swordsman, unequalled. Yeah. Right? So, well, what do you think happens? They also mention mesmerism, don't they? It might be a thing the vampires do, because there's never any screams until afterwards. So they also build this very shiny thing to go on the sword that reflects back. So when Lady Durwood tries to hypnotise Kronos, immediately he holds it up, and she hypnotises herself. So she's comatose.
She's kind of just out of this.
She just stands there. She just says she's already hypnotised Carla, so Carla's frozen. She's hypnotised the kids, so they're frozen. So really now it's just Kronos and this Lord Durwood sword fight, and it's a pretty epic sword fight, isn't it?
Yeah, they go. There's a lot of back and forth. Mainly, it's Kronos keeps getting disarmed because he needs to use that specific sword. Yeah, even though he's clearly trained himself to use both at once. So I assume that's his preferred fighting size. Why didn't he just bring another sword as well?
I don't know. But, they duke it out. And there's some cool stuff with fights on silhouettes. I like the interior design of the Durwood house. It's very blue, isn't it? Blue. There's lots of blue and gold and stuff like that, and motifs on the arches and things like that. It's kind of cool. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe this guy who was playing Lord Durwood is actually like the stunt coordinator, but he was a really good swordsman.
Yeah.
And when they saw him fighting with Horst Janssen, who is also a good swordsman, I believe, they thought, we got to put this on screen, right? And that's what they did. And there's a really good sword fight, which Kronos eventually wins, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he gets the vampire, and then the mother wakes up.
Well, first the tear runs down her face, and then the whole place burns down, doesn't it? The daughter wakes up. And then the mother gets burnt, and it kind of ends. And well, no, it doesn't end. The vampire's killed, right? And then it's a case of they're back at the village, and Carla's like, "You could take me with you." He goes, "No, we're going. You can't come." And that might be a hint that they're time travelers, because that was apparently the idea. And Carla says, and he says to her, "On lonely nights, we'll be thinking of you." And as he rides off, she says, "And I of you." And then it ends with the epic, very adventure-y music with the trumpets and stuff, right? I've actually integrated some of that music into our closing music. It's that trumpet, that trumpet thing. There's also a really weird thing in the middle of this film. We thought it was odd, and it never resolved. The bar that they have the massive fight in with the three toughs, there's a blind woman just drinking.
Yeah, and it keeps every time someone leaves or enters, it cuts to her putting her hand on her drink,
and that reminds me of the
never
blind.
Really addresses it.
Yeah, it reminds me. One of the reasons it reminds me of Hulk the Slayer. There's a woman with a covering on her eyes in that, and it kind of looked a bit like that. I think she must have been the producer's girlfriend or something, because dramatically she had nothing to do with anything, and that sometimes happens, right? But yeah. So, I have to say, there is a kick-ass comic book version, as I mentioned, in the House of Hammer. There's also some follow-up Captain Kronos comics from 2018, which I do own, and that is kick-ass. Really kick-ass. It's a really good graphic novel. Carla's a much more active agent as a vampire hunter in it. She's got her own... I think they make her a crossbow, for example. And it's really good, and they're fighting all sorts of mad vampires in that too. Needs more Captain Kronos in the world, in my opinion. I'd love to see a remake or some sort of redo of this. I'll be honest, but I don't know who could do it. Someone very physical. But yeah, I enjoyed this greatly. It was a flop, which is one of the reasons of the demise of Hammer, because it was like almost the last throw of the dice on these last few films. But as I say, it was actually made in 1972, and they just released it to it. I think the main producer of Hammer hated it and didn't really want to have it part of the Hammer thing, but they were desperate by 1974. They just had no money, so they released it. I can't see a problem. Do you see why they wouldn't release it?
No, I can't see one, or I can't think of one.
No, it's a great film. It's a fun film.
Like, I can only guess there was some sort of tax break.
Maybe. There's also, I think, 2 different novelizations of this book. I've got one of them, and it's a really interesting book because it's written from the perspective of Carla, and often written in the first person. So it's Carla explaining things and giving her view, and it's very funny because she thinks, like most men, are real idiots and kind of discusses them that way, and I kind of like that. It just made me laugh a lot. The horrible men she has to deal with, and how long she's been doing her whole life having to deal with these awful men. And I kind of thought that was quite a good way of doing it. It took a bit getting into because it was so unexpected. Film adaptation into novelizations are usually really direct and bland, but this was quite different. So, any final thoughts? Any bits you really liked? Any bits?
No, we've kind of gone over all the really great bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was worth watching. It's a pretty good film.
Where would you put it in Hammers? All the ones we watched, so towards the top, towards the middle, towards the bottom?
Probably top middle.
I think it's near the top, nearish to the top. Maybe top 5, maybe, of the 40 odd we've seen. Top. Something like that. We'll rank these when we finally finish. We've only got a couple of more films. But it was different, though, wasn't it? It was kind of refreshingly different. It did have a TV feel, though, didn't it? It did have a TV feel, somewhat. But yeah. How would you rate this?
I would rate this about a 7 or so.
Yeah, I'll give it
positive.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I actually really like this film, and I like it the more I see it. You know, every time I see it, I like it a little more. It's got a certain charm. I forget the flaws, and I re-enjoy the good bits. If you know what I mean, it's like that. But yeah, solid one. And I've been looking forward to us actually talking about this one here for ages. So we finally got here. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, it's not the craziest of Hammer films, but it's close as well, I'd say. There are crazier, but it's kind of unusual and different and fun, isn't it? That's the thing. Not scary at all, I have to say, but kind of fun. Anyway, shall we...
This is the tamest in terms of scares.
Yeah. So. It feels like it's somewhat like a kid's film, doesn't it? Apart from what they're doing with the Doctor, maybe, and some of the quick aging stuff, it's kind of not that scary and kind of fun. Anyway, let's. Should we wind out there? Do you think we've kind of covered here, haven't we? Yeah. All right. So, bye from me.
Bye.